So we talked about bootcamp already. John introduced the subject. We want to talk about it here in the context of mindsets. And we refer to mindsets as well along the presentations in the beginning. A similar sentence to that was attributed to Einstein. You cannot solve the problems with the same mindset or level of consciousness that we created the problem. So we need to evolve our mindset. And so we'll talk about what's a mindset and what are the different stages according to the model that I'm going to be presenting to you for human development, for adult development, and how actually we can consciously evolve our mindset. Very similar topics as we will debrief at the end of the day of what Norman was saying or Erica was saying. So there is a lot of connection points that you might be making already. What makes us humans? What makes us humans? One possible answer, we are not going to go into any long debates here, but one possible answer is around meaning making, the ability to make meaning, okay? And how our ability to make meaning, our mindset is evolving, is basically around the same thing. So humans is about meaning making. If there are psychologists in the room, you will know about Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget, a Swiss psychologist, was the first one to analyze and propose that kids evolve and develop in very clear, separate stages, right? As a child, as a grown-up, and young adult, etc. And each stage has its challenges and it's very clear different stages. But Piaget finished at age of 21. So basically, according to his model, when you were 21, you were an adult and you didn't develop any further. And also, other people that took on the development challenge to understand it focus more on adult development. And that's Colbert, Hagen, Torbert. The model I'm going to be talking about is a model from Bill Torbert. That's about vertical development, and I'll talk about that. And basically, it does say that humans continue to develop over their lifetime and develop their minds, okay, into bigger minds or evolve the levels of consciousness. It's just different ways to talk about their thing. And our mindset dictates the way we approach life and work. It's the way we see the world. It's driven by our mindset. And we need to go back into our beliefs, as Norman was talking about, to grow our minds. And so it was believed some time ago that we would grow up and pick at a certain point as young adults, and then we would decline as our bodies. But the reality is not that. The reality is that we continue to grow as adults, even when we are older. So our bodies may not, and may peak at certain point, but our minds do, and that's sort of the wisdom of the elder. And talking to the glass and the vertical development, I have the two glasses here, maybe makes it a bit clearer. And that's just a metaphor. It is obviously not as simple as that. It could be diagonal development, as I sometimes joke about it. It's not horizontal or not vertical, because it's intertwined and it's mixed. But horizontal development is adding more skills into your glass, and at some point your glass gets full. And the only way to understand bigger complexity and bigger ambiguity and deal with a bigger VUCA world is to make your glass bigger. And so in that analogy, that's vertical development. You expand, I think Erica said, your skin, just grows, type of thing. If you are not a glass, if you are a body. So talk about increased self-awareness, increased perspective, etc. So we'll talk about the model around vertical development. And again, vertical development is evolving mindset. I like this sentence: the ability to think in a more complex, systemic, and interdependent way. Right? That's about mindset development. And it's about what you think, not so much, how you think, not about what you think, which is filling the glass. And so There are 7 mindsets according to that model I'm going to be talking about from Bill Torbert, and I'm going to be describing each one of them. We'll not have a lot of time to go deeply, and the reason why I have some printouts, Simon, just write down when you put them on the floor. I don't have one for each, there are 24 copies, but if you could share among 2 or 3 people, you could pass them around. And basically you're gonna have all the stages for later on. If we are thinking about Rajoy and Puigdemont, you'll have a reference to start thinking and doing a debate. I just wanna make that a sort of an experiment and an interaction. So more about the model first. An opportunist is the first level of this scale. It has seven stages. And the opportunist, which coincides with the typical young kid that cries when he's hungry or is manipulative. I have a 13-year-old and he's a lot in that stage. It's about me. It's about an eye for an eye. If my brother hits me, I hit him back. So don't have the wisdom to understand some of the complexities of the world, trying to put yourself in the world. It's all about security. So short horizon, flouts, power and sexuality. So it shows off. Power and sexuality are important for that stage. Rejects feedback are people that are not open to feedback, do not like feedback because affect the ego, right? Hostile humor, views lack a central, an eye for an eye ethic, etc. You could read the rest. The next level up, it's a diplomat. And think about it as well as when a kid grows up into a teen and you go into ESO or into high school and you try to conform and fit in. You want to belong to certain groups. You don't want to be excluded. And that is sort of the mindset of the diplomat that wants to conform, suppresses sometimes own desires just to belong, to be part of a group. That level also have the right versus wrong attitude. So that's right, that's wrong. It's very categorical. It's black or white. All right. It's all about appearance and status, etc. I think you could see that that stage. The next one, it's what's called an expert. An expert, it's what's important here is efficiency, expertise, data, mastery of something, achievement. It's a typical engineer in a multinational that is proud about being an expert of something. All right, develop that type of expertise. It's about merit and getting merit increase. It's about me. All these stages are still a lot about me. Right? So we talked about in previous presentations about from me to you, to us, or to we. Next level is the achiever. The achiever is a level up from the expert because the expert can get caught into either analysis paralysis or it could get caught into perfectionism. Experts, but achievers can prioritize efficiency over effectiveness. And so prioritize and manage several projects at the same time, not get lost in the weeds, delegate, right? That's a big step from expert to achiever. Inspired more by future and less by past. Feels guilt about not meeting own standards. So achievers is very important to achieve, to accomplish, to get results, and you are very demanding with yourself. A lot of people chase time. Their time is an issue because you have so much to achieve, right? So much to solve, so much to do. Next level up, it's called redefining. And notice that the first 4 were talked about first person, right? I'm an opportunist or a diplomat or an expert or an achiever, and here is redefining. It's an infinitive. So here is a shift at that moment. Start thinking less about me and more about we or us. More of the system as the last 3 stages. So that person is a lot more collaborative, tolerant with difference, aware of context, and contingency. Again, a lot of linkages with previous presentations. May challenge group norms. That's a stage where you, if you don't agree with the law, you would say, well, I'm going to disregard that because that doesn't fit. I'm challenging that. It's open to feedback. That's important in the context of organizations. All right. Next one is transforming. So while redefining focuses more on interacting really well at the relational level with different stages, the transforming does that very well at the organizational level. So can transform culture is thinking about the bigger context and enjoys variety of roles, importance of principle and judgment, is aware of own traits and shadow. So you start seeing yourself in that stage. You see your ego, you can get away. And the last one is alchemist. Alchemist is more of just being even more aware of yourself, your patterns, and you are more worried about, this is more focused on reinventing the self, reinventing the organization, reinventing society, and the bigger context, right? I know it's fast, but so this is the 7 stages. This is the summary. You could look through that. And here at the right-hand side, you see percentage of leaders. This is a study that was done in 2005 with thousands of interviews with European and American companies, thousands and thousands of people. And the bad news is the majority of people fell into experts and achievers, somewhat of a diplomats in corporations, and only 15% were able to lead from a higher level, a bigger mindset, if I may say it this way, a higher level of consciousness. I actually sent an email to the creator of that last night because I was doubting these numbers have not evolved, and they said yes, it has evolved, and different organizations actually can have from 15 all the way to 30 or even 45%, especially when you measure the population, what they call high potential. In talent management, they focus on high potential development. So if you focus on the high potentials, you could have up to 45 people here. Those are things that could change depending on the context or the company. Still, the majority of companies, people that work in companies, the working bees are maybe within those stages. All right. So with that said, the model talks about a center of gravity. So we all can operate in all those stages in a way. But one day I may operate, let's say, as an alchemical, but my center of gravity could be that one of an expert. I typically reject feedback or I don't like it, or only if my boss gives it to me, but not everybody, my coworker, I will not accept it. Then the emergent action logic is more the one that I'm having to evolve to, is the one that I see as a potential, but I need to make that shift. And fallback action logic is the one that I would gravitate towards in times of what? In times of pressure, in times of VUCA, in times of stress. So that's, we could move up and down, but we are centered in one action logic, which is how we typically understand and treat the world and the family and friends. So VUCA would have us go down, not up, basically. Very quickly, we're going to talk about just innovative and transformation. Successful innovation and transformation, according to the study, occurred when leaders were in those 3 stages. On the contrary, these people underperform in terms of being able to transform organizations. And so that's for sure. When you have bigger projects, bigger complexity, remember the glass. Bigger glasses are at the top. That's a small glass. The opportunist has a small glass. So when it's very complex, you overfill, you get overwhelmed. And so if you have to transform something very complex, you need to increase your glass and be able to take a bigger perspective. That makes sense? everybody knows who Bill Gates is. Do you recognize the guy on the back? Buffett? Okay. So we talk about the Giving Pledge. I'm not going to talk about the Giving Pledge, more about Gates, although Gates could be another good example. But Warren Buffett evolved through his life through some just key stages, basically, as an opportunist and then diplomat. He was a teenage there, and then early stages tried to fit in, and then expert, built wealth, and achiever, even built more wealth, and at some point start doing scholarships and transforming the organization. And now he's more of a taking more distance and trying to see how we can help society evolve. So all of us can evolve from one stage to the next. It's not that we are stuck in one place. That's the good news about this model, that we all can continue developing. And down here, I'll go very quickly through that one. Dependent, independent, interdependent. So there is a correlation between these 7 stages of development and the culture of an organization. This is a model from CCL that talks about organizations could be more dependent organizations, the mando y ordeno, this is the law, this is what I do, this is more vertical. And people that thrive in this organization are opportunists, diplomats, I'm not going to piss off my boss, and experts as well, because they focus on what needs to be done. Then the organization can evolve into more independent organizations. Independent organizations are different business units, different departments. It's less about me maybe, but still about my department. And mindsets that thrive, and typically you find there, are achiever and redefining. And it's only transforming and alchemical that you find it a more interdependent organization. So a lot of both topics we could talk for the whole day, but I want to give you at least this correlation or this analogy between the two. So this guy, where would you put this guy? And I want to have the debate more on Puigdemont and on Rajoy, but we'll use him as an example. Right? So let's not have the debate now that I'm going to ask among yourselves, but think about where would you see him? Opportunist. Who would think opportunist is a good fit? Yeah, a lot of them. Okay, so that's first of all, I want to say one thing. It is not possible to classify somebody from an external point of view without really knowing the person and having the person to voluntarily take the test. This has a test that is not a multiple choice answer. It's a very different test. I took it recently, and it's a 30 open-ended questions. The test starts with my father, 3 dots, and you have a box, and you say, whatever. And then the next question is feedback is, or feedback. You say whatever you want, and then there is coaches and experts that interpret your actual logic in answering. So it's not a typical test. But unless you take the test, we cannot say categorically that he is or anybody is one way or another. So let's make sure that we, especially as we talk about political leaders in this country, we take that into context. But the reality, and I want to start with this sentence, very recently, my button is bigger than yours. And he tweeted that, I mean, this guy is kind of something. The reality of him, and there is a lot of biographies, is
his button and not butt.
I'm sorry?
You sure it's not butt? You sure it's button and not butt?
No, my button referring to the nuclear button. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, he probably has his button. Trump is a winner. Many people say he has been achieving many things, and he's always won, and that's why nobody just thought he would win the electoral race, and he did. He needs to be recognized. He's a narcissist, trusts no one, and listens to nobody. Bill Torbert, the creator of this model, published a blog, and he puts Trump as an opportunist. But in the same blog, some people replied saying, well, I don't think so, because opportunists are short-term, and he can think long-term because he's manipulative long-term and strategy. So you could argue back and forth, but a lot of people agree, we all agree, that he's a lot centered around opportunism. Okay? So let's talk about, what I'll do is combine both, just in the interest of time. And basically I'm pretty much done. I have a couple of slides at the end, and that's going to be sort of a debate questions, if you agree with me. So Rajoy and then Puigdemont, I chose these two pictures. There were a lot of ugly ones for both of them. I put those two. And I'd like you to look at these, I'll leave it there, and talk for 2-3 minutes with people around you. Again, we are, even if you're talking with somebody that is completely against you in terms of thinking, that would be beautiful. Just try to see what action logic these two people have, right? Just take 2-3 minutes. Who has an opinion? Who has or a question or a comment? Who sees one action logic being more dominant? We can stop that camera. Just in case you are out. You don't have to say your name. The camera is pointing at us. But what do you see as a debate? You see both of them.
I have a clear opinion about Rajoy that he's an expert. The rule is a rule and it's only one rule.
Expert ruled by logic, and its expertise in this case around politics and about his world and about ruling the country, which it's not an expert on. Yeah.
And we were discussing about Puigdemont as a transforming or opportunist.
So one of the things that
it depends on the behavior of the transformation is from him or is from the population, and he
depending on how you see it.
Yes.
So that's but I'll see if I picked up what you said. So somebody could see Puigdemont as opportunist because he's doing all that for himself. If you see that way, so Puigdemont is just trying to grow himself, his name, his businesses, his ego, then he would fall more under an opportunist. If he's not the main manipulative of the whole thing, but more of a figure, and he's driven by the people, as you said, then he would be more in the transforming, as an alchemist or redefining somewhere there around societal transformation, organizational transformation. Rajoy, I was thinking about it. I'm not an expert on that model yet. I'm just getting better at it. But either diplomat or expert as well. Diplomat just because of, but it's difficult to know him in real life, type of thing. Maybe what he shows up in public shows one way, and with his family would be a different way. Being open to feedback is important as you grow up in this, or as you evolve in this mindset category. So here you are very close to feedback, and as you scale up, you basically take feedback as a gift and as just necessary, etc. One thing is that from the top you could go down. If I'm an alchemist, I could go and be manipulative sometimes or play with myself. So I'm an alchemist, I'm late, I know this is the right line, I need to turn right, but I'm late, I'm going to take the left one and cut at the end and take still the freeway. Right? That's being very self-centered about myself. I'm playing with the system, but I give that to myself. But as an opportunist, you don't have the flexibility to say, I'm going to be an alchemist now, take distance and look at the whole context of events. You are basically caught into your opportunism mindset. Make sense? So as you grow up, you have access to lower level mindsets. All right? Any other comment about? All right, I want to maybe end with a couple of things. Well, I like this one. But what I want to end up with is, how do you think we can catalyze or help people change from one action logic to the other? And this is not things that you don't know. You all know that. But basically, it's having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And having a growth mindset is about accepting challenges and seeking feedback, not ignoring feedback, and learning from others. This is a good one. Learns from and gets inspiration from others' success instead of being threatened by other people's success. If you're threatened by other people's success, is your ego basically reacting? And so this is a good list, and I was looking at Norman's list of living organization skills, and there were some analogies. Even the polarity thinking here is there as well, about paradoxes. So these are things that would stretch yourself, your glass, to be bigger glass. And a lot of it is mistakes, failures, action reflection. So if you fail, ask why you failed, why that doesn't work, instead of blaming the system or blaming other. Just reflect why that doesn't work for me. The universe is very powerful at giving us indications of ways for us to learn. Reflection about existential questions, questioning your own beliefs. I believe that because I was born in this country and I was educated this way, but why? Why do I believe this way? So question your own self. That's how you can increase your own glass. Dialogue, difficult conversations, so listening to others, not listening to yourself. Coaching, mentoring, systems thinking, polarity thinking, trying to take distance, mindfulness, spirituality. All right, we talked about all that. With that, I'll close it and open it if there is one final question. Thank you.